practice. Today we're going to be exploring an all levels flow. So be mindful of how your body's feeling through each movement, and also bring a little deeper awareness to your breath. I do invite you to mute those devices, as that way it does not interfere with cueing today. So this sequence is a good morning sequence to help start your day off right. We are going to start by just taking that child's pose today. So feel free to open those knees a little wider. We're going to take an inhale, and I invite you to sink those hips closer to the heels of those feet as you settle to that child's pose. Just taking normal breath here, in through the nose, and a sigh through the mouth. Just settling in, releasing any stress or tension you may feel today. Let it go. Release it. It no longer serves you. Embrace the stillness as you settle in. I now invite you, we're going to start rolling that body up as we find that strong tabletop today. We're going to take an inhale as we start arching that back, taking that yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, gazing towards our mat. Inhale, make that transition. Start arching that back, pulling through the chest, gazing upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to the low spine, gazing to the mat. I invite you to get into your own flow here, your body movement and breath. I now invite you, take that body to that strong tabletop. We're going to just lift the right knee away from the mat. And we're going to start those hip circles, just warming up those hips today. We're going to be mindful of the movement, being mindful of that breath. We're now going to take those circles the opposite direction a few times. I now invite you, taking that right knee to the mat, finding that tabletop position. Deep breath in. Exhale, sinking hips towards the heels of the feet, settling to that child's pose. We're going to take 3 breaths here. Inhale, start transitioning, finding that tabletop. And then we're going to lift. Left knee away from the mat. And we're going to start those hip circles on that left side now. A few times. going to start those circles the opposite direction. Being mindful. We're working those hips in adduction and abduction today. I now invite you, take that left knee to the mat, finding that tabletop position. Deep breath in, and then on that exhale, sinking those hips to the heels of the feet, settle to that child's pose for 3 breaths. Deep breath in, transition to that tabletop position. We're going to tuck those toes, lifting the knees away from the mat, hips towards the sky. Exhale, finding our downward facing dog. We're going to take 3 breaths here. I now invite you to transition that body to plank. You have an option here to take the knees to the mat. We're now going to start lowering the body and tummy to the mat. And we're going to settle to that Sphinx pose, taking a few breaths right where we are. We're going to start making that transition, taking the hands closer to the chest, tucking toes, lifting that body away from the mat. Exhale, find that downward facing dog. Taking our 3 breaths. So we're now going to transition plank and then take the knees to the mat as you find that tabletop position. We're now going to take the right foot forward to the mat. We're going to settle to our low lunge here on Vinyasa. So be mindful of the movement and that breath, floating hands high overhead. I invite you to interlock those fingers, pointing palms upward, lengthening through that spine. Taking a few breaths here. I now invite you to release those hands, and we're going to just start adding a little twist here. Left arm going forward, that right arm going behind you, opening through that chest. Take your 3 breaths. We're going to make a transition, taking the left hand to the mat, and then float that right arm towards the sky. A little twist here in that low lunge. You want to gaze towards the right thumb. You also have an option here where you can lift that back knee away from the mat. Do what feels good to your body. I now invite you to take that right hand to the mat, letting that left knee settle to the mat. We're going to take that left leg back to that tabletop position. Exhale, let all that breath go here. Inhale, start tucking those toes, hips towards the sky, finding that downward facing dog. We're going to take 3 breaths. I now invite you, breath in, find that plank. We're going to start lowering that body, tummy to the mat. Settling to that Sphinx. Take a few breaths here. So we're going to make that transition. Take those hands beside the chest. Tuck those toes. Deep breath in, lifting body away from the mat. Exhale, settling to that downward facing dog. Take a few breaths, tuning in to how that body's feeling. Making that transition to plank. And then we're going to take both knees to the mat, finding our tabletop position. I now invite you, take that left foot forward now as we settle to that low lunge, floating arms high overhead, finding that Anjani Asana today. Interlock those fingertips, palms upward, exhale. Lengthen throughout that spine. Take a few breaths here. I now invite you to transition here as you start releasing the hands, floating right arm in front of you, going into our twist, kind of like a T shape. Take a few breaths. When you feel ready, we're going to transition as we turn that body forward. Right hand to the mat. And we're going to go into that low lunge twist, floating left hand towards the sky. Take that yogi gaze towards that left thumb. You also have the option to lift that back knee away from the mat. Take a few breaths, open through that chest and breathe. I now invite you to transition left hand to the mat, taking right knee to the mat. We're now going to take that left leg back, tabletop. Deep breath in as we start tucking those toes, hips towards the sky, finding that downward facing dog today. We're going to take our 3 breaths here. Deep inhale as you transition to that plank. Exhale, lower that body towards the mat. Tummy taking grounded to the mat. Forearms to the mat as we settle to that Sphinx pose. And we're going to take our 3 normal breaths here. I now invite you to make that transition. Hands are going to be beside that chest. Start tucking the toes. Lift that body away from the mat. Exhale. Find that downward facing dog. We're going to take our 3 breaths. Deep inhale as you take that right knee bent into center. Exhale, take the right toes towards the sky. Find that 3-leg dog split. We're going to make that transition with that right foot, taking it forward as we find that high lunge. Ashtha Chandrasana. We're going to turn that back foot, open those arms wide, gazing towards that right thumb, settling to that warrior 2 here. We're going to take our 3 breaths. Deep inhale as you take that right knee bent into center. Exhale, take the right toes towards the sky. Find that 3-leg dog split. We're going to make that transition with that right foot, taking it forward as we find that high lunge. Ashtha Chandrasana. We're going to turn that back foot, open those arms wide, gazing towards that right thumb, settling to that warrior 2 here. Deep inhale as you float right hand towards the sky as we reverse that warrior. Exhale. Inhale, making our transition as we open those arms wide. Lunging right knee a little forward here. Settle to that warrior two. We're going to take that right elbow to that right knee. Float left hand towards the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze. You have an option here to take the right hand to the mat as you find that triangle pose. Inhale, rolling the body up, arms wide. Exhale, finding that warrior two. When you feel ready, turning that back foot, settling to that high lunge. Ashtha Chandrasana. Deep breath in as you round the arms towards the mat. Taking right foot, find that strong plank. Have some fun finding our Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, tuck those toes, settling to that down dog. We're going to take our 3 breaths here. Deep breath in, taking that left knee now into center. Really engage that core. Exhale, take that left foot towards the sky, finding that three-legged dog split. Making that transition, taking that left foot forward to the mat. Settling to that high lunge. Ashtha Chandrasana. Turning that back foot, open arms wide. Take an exhale as you find that warrior two. Take an inhale as you transition, reversing that warrior. Exhale, open arms wide, finding warrior two. We're now going to take left elbow to that left knee, floating right hand towards the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze. Feel free taking that left hand towards the mat as you find that triangle pose. Inhale, start rolling that upper body up, open arms wide. Take an exhale, settling to that warrior two. Making that transition as we settle to that high lunge. Circling arms down towards the mat. Extending that left foot and leg back. Find your strong plank. Finding our Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhale, tuck those toes. Settling to that downward facing dog. Taking our 3 breaths. Taking that transition, plank. Lower that body down, tummy to the mat. Forearms to the mat as we settle to that Sphinx pose. We're going to take 3 breaths right where we are. I now invite you, taking the hands beside that chest, rolling chest up, knees to the mat. Take an exhale as you take those hips towards the heels of the feet, settling to our child's pose. Breathing in through the nose and sighing through the mouth. invite you to take a breath in, floating right hand towards the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze today. We're now going to start taking right hand as we thread it towards the left, settling to that thread the needle. You have the option of taking left hand around towards that low spine. Taking a little bind here. Do what feels good to your body. I now invite you, make that transition as you take that right hand, settling to that child's pose. We're now going to work the left side. Breath in, floating left hand towards the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze. Take an exhale as you thread left hand through the right, settling to thread the needle. Taking a few breaths here. And now I invite you, we're going to release. Take an exhale as you settle back to that child's pose. Inhale, rolling that body up, finding our strong tabletop today. Exhale, let all that breath go here. I now invite you, taking that right foot and leg straight back, extending left arm forward, gazing down, feeling that length from that left hand to the right toes, and breathe. I now invite you, take that left hand to the mat as well as that right knee. Find that tabletop. I now invite you, extending that left leg and foot back now and taking right arm forward. Keep that gaze to the mat. Feel that lengthening throughout the fingertips to the toes. I now invite you, right hand to the mat, left knee to the mat, finding that tabletop position. Take a breath in and we're going to start floating that right hand towards the sky. Exhale. Inhale, making that transition with the right hand to the mat now. And then we're going to open up the left side as we take a left arm towards the sky. Follow with that gaze. Exhale. Inhale, transition. Left hand to the mat. Find that tabletop. I now invite you, we're just going to transition the body as we settle to our Sukhasana today. Finding that easy pose. Feel free to use a yoga block, a pillow underneath those sit bones if you would like. Do what feels comfortable for your body here. We're going to lift through the crown of our head, finding that length throughout that spine. Take an inhale, floating arms high overhead. Exhale, finding that Anjali Mudra today, heart center chest. I invite you to inhale through the nose and just exhale, sigh through the mouth. Inhale Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Take a breath in as you float, hands high overhead. And then we're going to take that right hand beside us on the mat, extending the left arm over towards that right side. Maybe imagine the left rib cage shaped like a balloon here. I invite you to take a few breaths right where you are. Inhale, transitioning, taking the body to center, both hands high overhead. And then taking left hand to the mat now, extending right arm over and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Taking a few breaths. Maybe imagine that right side rib cage shaped like a balloon. Inhale, float that body to center, hands high overhead. And then we're just going to release those hands as we take the hands to the mat. Big circle down. Inhale, float them up. And exhale, circle down. A few times here. Inhale, float them up. And exhale, circle down. One more time, take a breath in, float those hands high overhead. And exhale, take that left hand forward, kind of shaped like an arrow. And then we're going to swing that right arm towards the back, opening through our chest here. Inhale, transition as you float, hands high overhead. And exhale, right hand forward, maybe shaped like an arrow. And then swoop that left arm behind you. Inhale, transition, hands high overhead. And then we're going to just open the arms to the side of the body. Palms are going to be pointed down towards the mat. We're going to take 2 breaths right here. Inhale through the nose. Sigh through the mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, just release those hands to the knees. We're going to start our Sufi rolls, so be mindful of the breath and movement here. We're going to take a breath in and we're going to start taking the body to the right side. Exhale as you circle forward. Inhale, left and center. Exhale, circle. Inhale, center. Exhale, circle. Inhale, center. A few times. Get into your own flow and breath here. Being mindful how that body's feeling in this present moment. And taking it back to that center. We're now going to start the movement going towards the left side. Exhale, circle. Inhale, center. So start that movement, working that opposite side now. Your eyes can be open, gaze soft or closed today, your choice. And one more time. I invite you to take that body back to our center. We're going to settle to that easy pose. Hands, palms upward on the knees. We're just going to take a few breaths here. Inhale through the nose. Sigh, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. So I now invite you, we're going to settle to our Baddha Konasana pose. We're going to take the soles of the feet touching in front of us. Be mindful. The hands can relax on the ankles. The hands can go to those toes. Do what feels good to you today. Feel free to float those knees up and down. Maybe imagine the wings of a beautiful butterfly here. Or you can embrace that stillness and just breathe here, your choice. I now invite you, we're going to extend that right leg just at an angle. You're going to continue to hug that left foot to that upper right thigh. Take a breath in as you float those hands high overhead. On the exhale, you're going to start reaching for the right shin, ankle, toe, wherever your body goes here. Be mindful. We're going to take 5 breaths right where we are. Just breathing in through our nose and sigh through the mouth. We're going to release that hand and rolling that body back to our center and simply switch those sides. Taking that left leg and foot, extending it out at that angle. Right foot's going to be hugged into that upper right or left leg. Take a breath in as you float hands high overhead. And on the exhale, reaching for that left shin, ankle, toes, wherever your body goes here. Be mindful that you don't have that upper spine hunched over. Lift through the crown of that head and breathe. 5 breaths. I now invite you, releasing the hands, rolling them into the body as we find our center. I now invite you, we're going to take that right foot and leg, extending it out to the side. We're going to settle to that wide leg fold today, so listen to that body with each movement and breath, making those few adjustments here. Take a breath in. We're going to float hands high overhead, really find length here. Exhale, open arms wide, taking hands towards ankles, toes, wherever they go. We're going to take our 5 breaths in through the nose. Exhale, sigh through the mouth. When you feel ready, release those hands, roll that upper body, finding that length. We're going to keep the feet and legs exactly where they are. Hands are going to be on the knees. I now invite you, take a breath in. We're going to start opening that heart. Open that chest as you gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest. Engage that core as you suck. Navel towards that low spine, gazing to our mat. Inhale, start pulling through that chest. Take that yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest. Navel to that low spine, gaze to the mat. I invite you, get into your own little flow here. Your body movement and breath. We're going to take that body back to our center, and we're just going to bend that left knee. Left foot hugged into the body, turning the upper body just to the front of our mat. As we extend that right leg back, we're going to settle to that pigeon pose. Be mindful. You can take it deeper if you want to take those forearms to the mat. We're going to spend a little time here, so I want you to be comfortable. Use any props to modify. We're going to take 8 breaths in through the nose, sigh out the mouth. When you feel ready, we're going to transition to the opposite side. So when you roll that body up, you're going to roll that right knee closer into the body, and then just simply switch those sides. When you feel ready, extending that left leg straight back, finding that pigeon pose. You can keep the upper body away from the mat, or if you want to go a little deeper here, take those forearms to the mat. Or you can extend those arms, full pigeon pose, your choice. Taking our 8 breaths. I now invite you, we're going to make a transition here as you bring that left knee closer to that right foot. We're going to hang out here for a few breaths. We're just opening the hips a little deeper. Hands can be on right knee, left knee, or hands on the mat, your choice. Just giving those hips a little love today. Normal breath here. I now invite you, taking hands, heart center chest. Find that Anjali Mudra. I now invite you, we're not going to use the hands, and we're just going to transition the body to the opposite side. So you're going to bring that left foot and knee away from the mat, and then just switch it. Taking that right leg behind us now. Breathe. We're going to release the hands just to to those knees or to the mat, your choice. I now invite you, we're going to turn the body, those feet are going to be grounded to the mat, knees are going to be bent. Take a breath in as you roll the shoulders down away from those ears, hands on those knees, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. I now invite you, we're going to roll those heels away from the mat. Find a little balance here on those sit bones. When you feel ready, start hugging those knees into the chest, and then we're just going to roll that body back on that mat. Hugging those knees to chest. Give yourself some good love today. Continuing with our breath. Feel free to rock the body from side to side if you would like, or embrace that stillness, your choice here. So we're going to release those feet to the mat. Take those hands to the belly. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, one more good exhale. I now invite you, we're going to take that left foot, crossing it over that right knee, taking the hands to that upper right leg, gentle pull into the body as we give that sciatica a little extra love today. We're going to take 3 breaths right where we are, just breathing in through the nose. Exhale, sigh through the mouth. So we're going to release that right foot to the mat, taking left foot to the mat. We're just simply going to switch those sides, taking that right foot to the left knee, hands embracing that upper left leg, and a gentle pull into the body. Be mindful here. Taking our 3 breaths. I now invite you, release, taking that left foot to the mat, taking the right foot to the mat. So the inside of the feet are going to be touching on our mat. Take a breath in. On the exhale, let those knees fall open. Taking a few breaths right where we are. Hands can be at the tummy, hands can be beside you on the mat, your choice. I now invite you, we're just going to settle to that Shavasana today. So feel free to grab a blanket or a pillow. Do what feels good to your body here. Take a little time as you settle in. I invite you to close the eyes, relaxing the forehead and jawline. Inhale through the nose, sigh through the mouth. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Continuing with your breath.